Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. I'm Sue, and you've just stepped into Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Every week, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine, a remarkable entrepreneur who's not just changing the world, but also harnessing a secret weapon, time outdoors. Together, we'll dive into their journey, unpack invaluable business advice, and discover why embracing the wild is not just good for the soul, but also a goldmine for inspiration and innovation. Ready to uncover the secret that's boosting bottom lines and fueling joy? Hit subscribe and join us in the wild. Hey there, Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. I have a real treat for you today. I'm going to introduce to you Fletcher Ellingson. He's a transformative coach, a best-selling author. His book is awesome. And he's dedicated to helping people break free from financial struggles, overwhelm, and persistent worry. Using science-backed strategies and his signature practice of feeling good, Fletcher empowers clients to rewrite limiting beliefs and unlock their potential. His groundbreaking 100-day rejection experiment, that sounds kind of cool, huh? Where he intentionally sought no responses, rewired his mindset, proving that courage grows through action. Fletcher's work helps individuals and entrepreneurs achieve breakthroughs in health, wealth, and relationships. His clients gain the clarity and confidence to scale businesses, mend relationships, and create lives aligned with purpose. Get ready to meet a mindset innovator who turns impossible into I'm possible. Fletcher, welcome to Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. I'm really happy to have you here.
Hey, I'm delighted to be here, Sue. I really appreciate your enthusiasm.
This is going to be really fun. So guys, I have Fletcher's book. It is fantastic. We'll talk about it, but you want to go get that. The Practice of Feeling Good. All right, talk to me, Fletcher. Let's talk a little bit more about who are you serving and what problem are you helping to solve with them?
Yeah, so, I started out working with predominantly entrepreneurs for a lot of years. And then I had this great referral base, and people started referring people to me who were not entrepreneurs, who were in other careers and who were just perhaps stay-at-home parents. And so I really work with a broad spectrum of clients, and I really appreciate that. I've been told by my mentors and everything, niche down, niche down, niche down. And I get that logic, but for me, it's been wonderful to have just the ability to work and communicate and relate to a very wide net of people. So what I do is I help people change the way they think in order to produce outstanding outcomes in their health, wealth, relationships, and their business. And we do that by helping them to radically change the way they think. And when I say radical, I define radical as a departure from the norm, a departure from what's usual. So it might be a very small departure, or it might be a massive departure, but it's a departure from the norm. And when we depart from the norm, we can't help but produce new outcomes. But it is helping, but it's stepping into courage to take those new actions, and those new actions are always stemming from new thinking.
Oh, wow. Man, it's got to be, it's major disruption in somebody's life. So they've got to be like, oh, all right, I need a major shift. Is that how they're coming to you originally? Like, what, is there
Yes.
some sort of thing that's going on in their brain?
Yeah,
Like, I need help.
There's some sort of stuckness, right? There's some sort of, they might call it, I've plateaued, I'm in a rut, right? Or I'm stuck, I'm spinning my wheels. There's some of that language. I can't get to that next level. Or sometimes they're just like, I'm suffering and I don't want to suffer anymore. And it might be it might be relationally, it might be in the career, it might be in their family, financially, but it always comes back to the thinking. And so what I help my clients do is uncover what their thinking is. So what we're talking about is mindset, which is a real buzzword that I think is wildly misunderstood. So I define mindset. So first of all, just look at the word, mindset. I like to reverse it. A set mind. What's set? Your mind is set. What is a set about? It's set about your beliefs, decisions, and attitudes. It's set, meaning you can't move it. And so mindset is an established set of decisions, beliefs, and attitudes that help me make sense of the world around me and of myself. And so we don't just have one mindset, we have lots of mindsets. We have a set mind around our finances. We have a set mind around relationships. We have a set mind around how we keep the house. We have a set mind around sex. We have a set mind around just about everything. And so that means we have decisions, we've made decisions, we have beliefs, and we have attitudes about each of those categories. Now, there's nothing good, bad, right, or wrong. One of the things when people work with me, they realize like I throw out all those labels around about good or bad, right or wrong. The question we always want to come back to is, does this serve my life? Does this mindset serve my life? Or is it holding me back? And if it's serving you, great. Let's see how we can amplify it. And if it's not, then let's take a look and begin to set up some new programming.
I love that. And, because here at the retreat center, we are building some stuff. So I've seen like what happens when you set something like in concrete or foam or mud.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, all right, that's not going anywhere.
Yes.
Somebody's purposefully going, dig this up, let's start over, let's build something better, more effectively serving me the way I want it to go. So
yeah, and that's such a great example of like setting something in concrete, right? Because it's not going anywhere. And and a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, Fletcher, I know what I should be doing, but I don't know why I can't get myself to do that thing, right? And that's because it is stuck. It is stuck in concrete. So we have to find a way, and it's not about finding a way to deconstruct the mindset. It's about setting up a new one.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I love that so much, because so much of personal development, a lot of stuff is just kind of like, okay, well, let's break this down, like stop doing this, start doing it. Like it's like, I would love to, but they don't say how, right?
Yeah. And you just said the magic word there. Because this is what my clients say too. Like, Fletcher, how do I stop this behavior? How do I stop this action? How do I stop this intrusive thought? And one of the things I say is, we're not even going to talk about stopping that.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as stop. So for like, I have my pen right now, right? I'm holding my pen. And Sue, if you say, hey, Fletcher, drop that pen. Or
drop
I'm sorry.
That pen.
I'm sorry. If you say, stop holding the pen, say, stop holding the pen, Fletcher.
Stop holding the pen, Fletcher.
Well, I can't stop holding it.
Right.
Because there's no such thing as stopping holding a pen. There's holding a pen, and then there's dropping a pen. There's releasing a grip, right? There's moving a pen. But there's no stop holding a pen. So we have to take the focus off the stopping, because the mind doesn't really hear the word stop. It just hears hold the pen.
Yeah.
Right. It just continues to hear holding the pen. But the new thought would be loosen the grip. And just that small little bit of new action begins to produce a different outcome. Suddenly the pen's less stable in my fingers. Ooh, what happens if I loosen the grip more? Oh, the pen falls, right? Now there's a radical departure from holding the pen. So we really want to begin to focus on what's the new action. This is, an easy example, of course, is like, I need to stop drinking so much. Okay. If we put the focus on stopping drinking, number one, it doesn't feel good, right? There's going to be a lot of resistance there. But what if we put the focus on, what else could I do at that time of day when I normally pour a drink? What else could I think about during that time? Who could I call? What could I begin to say to myself? What could I begin to read? There's a variety of different actions we can take to replace an old behavior. And that really is where a lot of the breakthroughs occur.
That's so good. Because that whole restriction, that just leads to resistance instead.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I love that. Replace instead. That's
and you again, you're pinging these magical terms, right? Resistance. Again, it's a term we use a lot. Resistance. But what is resistance? I define resistance as it's a form of thinking that's not in alignment with my desired outcome. So if I'm resisting something, there's thinking that's occurring in my brain that's not in alignment with my desired outcome. So there's going to be some suffering going on there. Compare that to momentum. Everybody loves the momentum, right? We want to feel momentum. And people will frequently say, well, gosh, how do I create momentum? And so I define momentum as thinking that is in alignment with my desired outcome, right? So if I can influence my thinking so that it's in alignment with my desired outcome, suddenly I feel this thing that is like flow, right? And we love momentum. We love to be in flow, but that's what it is. We're simply aligning our thinking with our desired outcomes. But it's a practice. It doesn't just happen overnight, and that's why it's called the practice of feeling good.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love the whole concept you had about like suffering. I mean, I don't want to go through the whole book because it's like, oh my gosh, but there's so many things. The concept of suffering, and how to, just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah. It's you're either in a suffering state of mind or you're in a feel good state of mind. And one last thing I should mention about this whole thing called feeling good, Sue, is because some people say, well, what do you mean feeling good? Happy? And well, that can be, but happy is actually a term that I very rarely use. I mean, I love to feel happy, but it's a term that I don't use very often. When I say feeling good, I mean feeling safe, secure, connected, open, willing, enthusiastic, like you, right? It might be optimistic. It might be hopeful. It might be inclusive. It might be curious. There's so many ways of feeling good. But think about the term. When we feel something like the sun on our face, I mean, that's one of the things that actually comes out of our mouth. Oh my gosh, it feels so good, right? It's that connection with the warmth of the sun. It feels safe. It feels reassuring. There's lots of ways to feel good.
That's for sure. And I love that because I think, so often I think entrepreneurs, at least, all right, I'm 57. I don't know how old you are. I don't know when you started, but when I was starting business in like '05, the sentiment was work your face off. You can stop when you're dead. Like,
Yep.
You don't need sleep. While you're sleeping, your competitors are doing, it was just like, and there was not room for feeling good. That was looked at like, oh, that's frivolous. It doesn't matter how you feel. You show up and you do the work, and it's like,
yes.
Whoa, that can be a lot to unlearn.
Oh my gosh, that is such great advice for entrepreneurs to hear. Because what that leads to is burnout, right? Yes. What it leads to is a scarcity mindset. Oh, don't sleep because while you're sleeping, your competitors, that's scarcity mindset, right? Yes. And when we're feeling fearful, you might be taking actions. That can be a motivator, but usually when we're feeling fearful or insecure or scarce, we're not going to be the most productive or the most collaborative or the most creative.
For sure.
It's when and I know we're going to get to this, but when we're feeling good, like when we're outside and feeling free and connected, we feel incredible inspiration, right? So when you're feeling good and feeling healthy and feeling secure, gosh, that's going to be when you're at your best.
Oh, it's so right. I mean, and then it's really easy to pop into that flow state.
Yes.
And then it feels like really joyful, productive, fun. Like I don't even know all the words. There's a million words we could use for that feeling.
Yes, you got it.
Really cool. All right, I want to talk about like a little bit, like how did you get to where you are? I know you've done a ton of personal development. What did your entrepreneurial journey look like?
Okay, I'll make this quick and succinct. When I was in elementary school, I had my first paper route. So I got on my bike and I went, and many of the days it was raining and my father would take me around in the car, but nonetheless,
nice.
we were delivering papers. That was job one. Then I remember succinctly, or specifically when I asked my father for some money to go to the movies one night. And this was when I think it was 6th grade or 7th grade. And he simply said, no. And I was like, oh, How come? He's like, oh, because apparently you don't have the money to go to the movies. I was like, I know. Can I have some? He's like, no, you'll need to go out and figure a way to make that. And I was so irked. I remember that. I was so irked. And I went to the garage. I just grabbed our lawnmower and I got on my 10-speed bicycle and I was dragging the lawnmower behind with my other hand. And I just went up and down the blocks and I knocked on people's doors and I asked if I could mow their lawn. And that was my first experience with door-to-door sales, right?
Amazing. Did you get some no's?
And I got plenty of no's, but I got 2 people who said yes, and it was way more than enough money to go to the movies. And I remember coming home at the end of that afternoon, all hot and sweaty, and I pushed that lawnmower up, and my dad was sitting on the porch, and I didn't even say anything. I was just like, I'll show you. But that was such a gift that he actually gave me.
Yeah.
He showed me how to, and then from there, in high school, we started our window washing business, which was fantastic because we were making so much money compared to like what minimum wage was, right?
Yes.
And we had commercials on the radio, on the local radio, and I mean, we were having a lot of fun with it, right? From there, I went to college, a couple different colleges, but then. I got into magic when I was in high school, and so I've been a professional magician for 35 years. So I've always been performing and on stages and hustling and sales and all that kind of stuff. And then we started a manufacturing business, all natural soap, lotion, lip balm, and we wholesaled and retailed. And then that crashed and burned because that was my biggest lesson in business. Like I realized I can work a lot of people under the table, but I didn't have a lot of business sense. There were some key pieces I was missing, and that business crashed and burned, which felt like the end of the world because we were broke. We had $20,000 in credit card debt and a family of 5 and a new mortgage. And I did not know what I was going to do. But in those times, Sue, sometimes those are the times where you dig deep, right? And so we dug deep and we created a new business, which went on to be a multi-million-dollar business. And it's a technology that still people use today. Well, I'm not a part of it anymore. This is a long time ago. But there was before you could buy a house online, you would have to go to a local realtor and they'd bring out a book and they'd look at Xerox copies of listings.
Yeah.
Well, one of my good friends had this idea. What if you could go online and type in your criteria and then get results online? And so that's called an IDX program. And now, of course, that's how we all shop.
Below and yeah.
Right, yeah. But I was a part of one of the very first few businesses that brought that technology to mainstream. And so that put me in front of thousands of people and lots of audiences. And I began pitching this and then coaching my clients who were buying it. And then I found myself in this coaching capacity. And what I began noticing is that I began seeing patterns of behavior. And I believe that one of our superpowers, Sue, is pattern recognition. Our species, the human species, we're really good at pattern recognition. And I began seeing these patterns and I began coaching. And pretty soon I realized I was coaching not about the products anymore. I was coaching about mindset. I began coaching these entrepreneurs all over the country about how to get out and actually sell, right? Yeah. And so I began building a side business. And then in 2015 or 16, that's when I made the full jump into full-time coaching.
That's incredible. Wow. Yeah. I love that. And you could not have traced that line of,
it went all over the place.
Yeah, but and I love so much that your dad did that. Like he didn't even say like, here's how, or go
Right.
do this, or hey, go knock on doors and bring them a lawnmower. Like none of that. He left that
Yes.
open to you. And you kind of made the money out of spite.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. He put my back up against the wall and kind of made me figure something out.
Yeah. And it sounds like life has done that, sometimes
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
that's rough, family of five and, in rebuilding from that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, so what does it look like for somebody to work with you now? Is it one-on-one? Is it group coaching? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I still do one-on-one. I'm shifting into a lot more speaking
Hmm.
and workshops, which I really love, because you can get more people in there and get this information out and make a even a bigger impact. But most of my clients are still one-on-one. It's like as far as my Zoom sessions and stuff, and I can do that anywhere in the country, obviously. And that's such a fun and satisfying thing to do. And so I have about a 9-month course that my clients go through, and it's called the Practice of Feeling Good curriculum. And yeah, it's all about just revolutionizing the way a person thinks in order to produce new outcomes in their health, wealth, and relationships.
That's so cool. That is
Yeah.
so cool. And I love that it's so sometimes people's course and then like they have a book, but it has like it's not directly connected. So I love it. Like you kept this simple. This is great. Like you become the practice of feeling good guy, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. Do you do any magic while you're like on stage when you have an audience?
Yes, I always love to, when we do workshops and stuff, I always love to open with some magic. My favorite magic is close-up magic, the kind where you can just do it like an intimate dinner party or something. So I love that. I love magic where it's happening right in front of you, right, or right in the client's hands.
Oh, that's
That's my favorite. I love to be fooled. So I love watching magic. It never gets old for me. But I love that moment where your brain cannot figure out what just happened. It can't reconstruct what's happened. And so the only thing that you can say, and this is what happens time and time again when you watch people who are watching magic tricks, they'll say like, how did you do that? That's the only thing they can say, right?
yes.
Because they're so confounded. And it's that moment of awe.
Yeah.
And awe, except like when we go outside, I'm awestruck. I really am. I'm looking out right now. I'm looking out my windows as I say this, but nature is incredible to induce awe. But magic is that there's that moment of awe, and as grown-ups, we don't get those moments of awe as often.
Yeah.
Like when we were a kid.
Yeah.
But magic allows us to pretend and play and indulge in that.
It really does. And it's, as a kid, everything feels magical because we don't necessarily know how the world works. So it's like, what? You can do this and get that? What? Like, as adults,
Exactly.
we're a little bit jaded. We're like, oh,
Right.
so it's a delightful thing to have you go, wait, what? How did you do that?
Yes. Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about your marketing. I'm thrilled that you have a book and that it's so excellent. Guys, I'm going to keep talking about this book. So between that and the magic, like, you're fusing all these things I hope for your marketing, like how
Yeah.
how do
So
you
one of
do
the
it?
yeah. So one of the things I love to do, I'm totally old school. So the way we built that company that I mentioned about that had the IDX, the property search, was all old school. It was funny because our product was an online product, but the marketing was offline.
Nice.
It was old fashioned, and it's still the way I do most of it today. I have an online presence on Facebook and Instagram. It's not a lot, but mostly, and I'm holding up my phone now, it's old school. I call, I walk into places, and just start a conversation. There's something about getting face to face with people, which I think is magical, and impactful, and allows for a different type of relating. So I still do a lot of that.
That's great.
Yeah, and I am moving more into the online, and as you know, I've hired a company to help me with that, right? First Class Business, to help me get all my assets together so I can do that more proficiently and more impactfully.
That's so cool. That is so cool. So you have so much to work with. It's like a chef walking into a fully stocked kitchen with a pantry, the freezer, like, woo, ooh, we can play with this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, so more stages. Like, what's your big, like your, like that? If you could look off in the distance and there's a
Hmm.
mountain there, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's just consistent speaking on stages. And when I say a stage, this is a stage right here,
Hmm.
right? And I do a lot of podcasts, as I'm looking off in the distance, as you say, but it is more of just I want to do way more workshops because I love workshops. Where there's a balance of speaking and working, right? That's why it's called a workshop, right? There's actual people. It's a big enough chunk of time where we can get into the details,
Mm.
where we can really begin to work with people in the audience to the level that they get to have a breakthrough. And then that's exciting because when somebody else has a breakthrough, the people around them are like, oh my gosh, I want one of those breakthroughs, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes this real infectious and fun energy. And I love being around that because it's inspiring to me, right?
Hmm.
And I love to be inspired.
Oh
There's
yeah.
always that next level to get to. And how I get to that next level is through relationships.
Mm. That's so great. And I love that sense of like it's that contagion that happens when somebody's having like, oh, wait, what? Oh, yeah. And
Yes,
somebody else's breakthrough, I think, emboldens other people to go, all
absolutely.
right, yeah, they were crying or they were very honest or what, they got real here and okay, I'm going to do it too. That's,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Do you do a lot of, well, I mean, have you ever like run in-person retreats?
Yeah, we have. In fact, and my wife and I was married. This is my second marriage. We've been together for about 14 or 15 years. But she and I are both personal development junkies. We are such nerds when it comes to this. And I'm so grateful to have her in my life. But we used to run a weekend retreat called Diabetes Smackdown. And it was Diabetes Smackdown, the ultimate solution. And so it was for people who had diabetes or who were at risk for diabetes. And we weren't selling pills, shakes. We weren't selling an exercise program. We weren't telling anybody how to do anything, because everybody that came there, and as you know, diabetes is an epidemic in our country. We're talking about type 2 diabetes, right? So people who would come there, they would say, Fletcher, I already know how I should be eating. I know how I should be exercising. What I don't know is why I can't get myself to do those things. And so we would go through much of the stuff that's in this book, Practice of Feeling Good. And we had time, like I said, we had that time to really get into the details. And the things that happened, Sue, from those types of retreats were phenomenal. I'm thinking of three women specifically who, after that weekend, they went on to continue to do coaching with me for the 9-month course. And at the end of a year, all three of them completed their first ever triathlon. Yes, they swam, they biked, and they ran. Two of them, one of them was in their 50s, one in the 60s, and one of them was 70 years old. They never thought they would be doing a triathlon. I didn't tell them to do it. It came out of their shift of thinking, and their physicians were like, what's going on here? I mean, your blood pressure's way down, your blood sugar's way, you're coming off your medications. That's what happens when we shift our thinking.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that that's in your book too, but I love that because for so many things, for so many reasons, right? Coaches normally, like I talk to a lot of coaches, a lot of them, it's like they've picked, here's my thing that I do. And then, here's the people, what you do, like, you're not a medical doctor, you don't have diabetes. There's not, it's like you picked a niche of, no, not a niche, a problem that some people were having that you were not personally having. You didn't cause this problem. And then you came up with this amazing, harmless, only good. There's no harm for it. There's no side effects that are bad. There's none of that stuff, right? And you, like, this was such an unusual thing, like to have the point of the spear being you're suffering from diabetes. Okay, now let's fix this. And everybody's got diabetes. They have all heard it a million times from every doctor, family member, everybody who cares about them. Move more, eat less, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Yes.
and they have that stuck point, that mindset that is not,
Yes.
doing it. I love that so much. And of course the results you were able to get with them, that's just really mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah. It was really fun. That was a fun program that we had.
That's so cool. Oh man, I love that. All right, let's talk a little bit about that. What are you doing when you're outside when you get the really great ideas? For me, I'm mowing. That's usually the thing. I
Mm.
wish it was something more adventuresome, but mowing. Well, I mean, we do have quite a bit of grass here at the retreat center, but I love mowing, and the ideas hit. What are you doing when you're out there?
Yeah, so I am so fortunate to live where I live. I live in North Central Washington in a small resort town called Chelan, Washington, or Chelan. It's on Lake Chelan, which is a 50-mile long lake, glacier fed. And we live between here and Seattle. There are two mountain passes. And so for about 4 months of the year, actually, no, for about 6 months of the year, it's a small, quiet, sleepy town. And we have it all to ourselves. And then a lot of tourists come to the tune of about 50,000 people a month for the peak season, which is about 4 months, and people come to recreate. So it's considered a high desert area. So there's lots of rolling hills, but big, expansive blue skies, and it gets really warm here in the summer. We have 4 seasons. So, and I'm gesturing out my window.
Yeah.
I live about 3 blocks from the lake.
Oh,
And so what I do, we spend time paddleboarding. We certainly go swimming. We do a lot of walking right outside I live on a dead end road that's right up against some of those rolling hills. We can walk up the hills. There are trails. And so we are outside a lot. And there are some big boulders just about 300 yards up the hill where me and my dog can go, and we frequently go there. I'll throw the ball, and then we spend some time just sitting and being quiet and meditating and surveying the beautiful scenery. And it's such a great experience. It really feeds my soul, and it's where some great thinking comes from, right?
yeah.
Being outside really stimulates my brain, and I have a lot of great ideas when I'm out there, as opposed to just sitting inside at my desk. I think I can still be creative at my desk, but there's something about being outside and being connected and being inspired by nature. I don't know what it is, but it does it. And my other favorite place is Maui, and that's where I did some of the writing for my book. And we were just there a couple months ago, and I was up when I'm at Maui, like no minute is wasted. I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm not going to miss any time there. But it was a full moon, and I had some binoculars, and the moon was bright, and it was casting that silver light right to me, right? And I had my binoculars, and it was just black and silver. Those were the only two colors, right? Black and silver. And I had my binoculars. I was looking at the moon. You could even see the craters on it. And then I was looking down towards the ocean, and right at that moment, a big humpback whale breached right in that silver light. And I was just like, is this happening?
Cue the whale.
I was just like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was one of the most magical experiences I've had.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I love being outdoors, and I love I love being grateful. We have an exercise just called Thank You, where we just thank you. Thank you, Lanai. Thank you, Molokai. Thank you, ocean. Thank you, sun. Thank you, moon. Thank you, water. And it just feels so good. And all of that is some sort of, there's some sort of inspiring creative energy about that. So I know I'm rambling now, but
I love that though. I'm like all for it. That whole thing of everybody talks about have a gratitude practice, especially in November. Okay, but it's a real thing. Like, this is an amazing thing. I know that I have had times where I've been like anxious or whatever. How are we going to fund this place? What is going to blah, blah, blah. And I can spiral real fast if I don't grab the reins, pump the brakes here for a second. And again, it's not the type of thing where you can go stop doing that, but I can remember, like, wait a second, look at all we go blessing blind, like how many
Mm.
amazing things are, like, we woke up today. Nobody had to wake us up. We woke up. We remembered who we are. We remembered who the person is next to us.
Oh my gosh, such
you
a great
know,
point.
like all these
Yes.
things, and it's like one where, for me, I know, like when I'm doing this, and it would sound insane to somebody if they were listening to this, like, but it's kind of like, I love that. That's like the Good Night Moon book almost, like,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
totally.
But having that, it's like, it puts us in, at least it puts me, I won't speak for all humans, but I think it's probably the case, puts me in such a more resourceful state, a more joyful state. And it's like, okay, just listing these things. I think there's such wisdom in listing our blessings and thinking about them and really contemplating them and seeing all the
Yes.
things that we couldn't have done for ourselves, and they're there. That's like,
Yes, and I was just writing down. I hadn't heard that term before, blessing blind. That's so good, and yes, you're absolutely accurate. When we focus on what we do have, what we all have been blessed with, all that we have, when we focus on that, your brain has to create an emotional response based on what you're focusing on. It doesn't have a choice. It must create an emotional reaction based on where you're placing your focus. So, right, I think I talked about this in the movie, right? If you go to a movie, for instance, you have a roller coaster of emotions during a 2-hour movie, perhaps even more emotions than you experience in your current in a given week, right? Because we have a very limited amount of emotions normally in a week. In that movie, it's a roller coaster. But check it out. Your brain is creating this sense of emotion based on light and sound that you are seeing being cast on a movie screen. It's not real. We know it's not real. Actors, they're messing up. There's bloopers, but the brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. But what it must do is it must create an experience. And so when you say, yeah, I'm in suffering, and then you shift to gratitude, again, the brain just says, oh, we're going to focus on things that that we appreciate. So cue the feel good chemicals, and let's course through Sue's nervous system with that. It's really learning how to influence your chemistry.
yeah.
When we can learn how to influence the chemistry in our body, ooh, that's a game changer.
So good. Oh my goodness. All right. I definitely need you to come host a retreat here.
Let's do it.
This is this stuff, entrepreneurs, I feel like we suffer a lot. I don't know if it's more or less than normal people, but there's so many things we can suffer over. And just having that tool of being able to manage our state, like that is huge, man. Huge.
Yes. The people who are masterful at influencing their state are the ones who do incredible things in this world. Like when we think about like Gandhi or Nelson Mandela or Mother Teresa, I mean, I know these people are used, as examples commonly, but it's for good reason. You see, Gandhi had to sit across from the table from the very people that were oppressing him and wanted him and his followers dead. He had to influence his state in order to broker peace. He couldn't be in suffering. He had to be in a feel-good state, if you will, to be able to influence the chemistry in his brain to produce a confident, loving, inclusive mindset so that he could broker peace. His ability to influence his thinking and his chemistry allowed him to create an independent India. I mean, that's powerful.
That is pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's what's available to us, but it takes practice.
It does. And I love it. It's bringing to mind, I'm going to butcher the quote, but it'll work still. But the sense of, in life, there will be pain. That's a non-negotiable. It's going to happen.
Yes.
but suffering is optional.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
like, whoa. And I love, because I'd heard that so many times, but never had heard how. You know?
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
huge.
And by the way, I should put a disclaimer out there to your audience, because I know that I can sound like, oh, he has it all together. No. I'm suffering just
Really
like
human.
all of you, right? I suffer daily. Okay, but the practice allows me to diminish the suffering. It's not as intense, and it's less frequent. And that's the whole goal of the practice of feeling good. Like, let's spend more time in a feel-good state of mind. Yes, there's going to be suffering, but can we diminish the pain, the severity of it, the frequency, and if we can do that, gosh, we're gonna be able to navigate life with a lot of greater ease and joy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, Fletcher, where can people find out more about you and your book
Yeah.
and your program?
You bet. FletcherEllingson.com is the website, which needs an overhaul, so bear with me. That's always the case, it seems like. But you can go to Amazon and get my book, The Practice of Feeling Good, or you can email me and I can send you a signed copy if you'd like that. Fletcher@FletcherEllingson.com. Connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to hear your story, and I look forward to connecting.
This is so good. Thank you so much for being here. This is...
Oh, my pleasure. And I want to acknowledge you, Sue. I want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing in this world. Like you said, you are all in. You are all in on the project you're doing. And the project you're doing is to make a difference for others, to serve others, and to help others live and experience life with greater sense of ease and joy. So thank you for being a source of kindness and a source of contribution.
Thank you. I feel good. Thank you. We'll have to have you back.
Absolutely.